Folks, so drugs like Molly are quickly becoming more popular across Jamaica. Today we take a look at the effects this drug has in our society from a legal standpoint. I'm happy we put that in because earlier we said Mr. Champagnie would be here to tell us the effects of the drug. I'm not sure he's capable of telling us that, but he will tell us about the legal effects. It's attorney at law, Peter Champagnie, who no stranger to our set here. Morning, sir. Welcome to Smile Jamaica.
Good morning, good morning.
I'm not going to ask you about the effects, but as far as you know, what is Molly?
I can't speak to the effects of it, quite frankly.
What is Molly?
Molly, as I understand it, is a synthetic drug. And I gather that it is a stimulant and it affects the central nervous system. And in addition to that, I understand also that it's akin to ecstasy. It is not of the type that the Dangerous Drugs Act specifically zoom in on in terms of cocaine and marijuana, which is not, those are not synthetic. So that is my understanding of it, and in terms of the definition in a layman's term,
right.
And it comes in a crystallized form, I understand, and sometimes in a tablet form.
Mm-hmm. Oh, my curiosity, Peter, is are there general laws that speak specifically to drugs, or do we, as they appear, have to enact something that speaks to Molly, that speaks to this, that speaks to that, oxycodone? Is that how it works?
If I didn't know better, Daly, I'd think that you're an attorney at law. The reason why I say that is because I had a look at the Dangerous Drugs Act before this interview once again. Mm-hmm. And apart from Section 10 of the legislation, which says that the minister may make regulations to govern the usage of certain drugs that have a similar effect as cocaine and ganja, it doesn't specifically make any reference to it. So perhaps the time has come for the legislators to look at the dangerous drugs law and to make it more clearer for persons who appreciate the legislation or would wish to enforce the legislation in terms of a policing point of view. Because quite frankly, it's hard to detect. Police doing a spot check search, for instance, you can well imagine, as I just said, in terms of how it is made up, it may be in a tablet form. So the detection, to my mind, would be difficult. And it would seem to me that the section that deals with drugs generally in terms of the Dangerous Drugs Act needs some greater clarity and precision.
Also, because, say, marijuana, sometimes I'll read, and you are charged with possession.
Yes.
Then you're charged with trafficking, which is different from possession.
Yes.
And you're charged with intent to traffic, all kinds of different things.
Yes.
You would know the terms. So all of the drugs are like that? Or, you know,
well, as I said,
it's kind of back up to Delia's question. So.
Well, as I said, when you look at the Dangerous Drugs Act in Jamaica here, it is really geared towards cocaine and ganja.
And ganja, right.
And you have the derivative in terms of the various types of charges.
Yeah, man.
But it doesn't specifically speak to Molly, ecstasy, and other things like that in a specific way.
So does that suggest if I'm held with Molly?
Yes.
And I call you and I say, I want you to defend me.
Yes.
You would start where? What I do with it? What? Where
You mean
would
apart from asking if you're guilty? Or,
yeah.
the fact of the matter is, to go back to it, there's no specific legislation in terms of the section dealing with Molly or ecstasy or that. It is really based on a chemical component. And as I said, Section 10. Of course, quantum is going to be important because as with the case with ganja and cocaine, once it's over a certain amount, you're presumed to be dealing in or trafficking depending on the circumstances or attempting to export if you're caught at the airport. So we really need to look at it and to be more specific, I think.
Yeah, because one of the things is Molly isn't manufactured in Jamaica.
I don't know. I honestly don't know.
Yes, but you wouldn't know. Neither would I. I'm reading based on data that it's not, and so it means that it's being brought in to the country. And so with the dangerous, what we're saying in terms of revising, it would mean including this as well in terms of importing.
Absolutely, Delia. In fact, there are provisions in the Act for importation of dangerous drugs and so on. But specifically dealing with these new types of, or I would want to say new age types of drugs, if I may put it that way, there isn't any focus on that. And quite frankly, in terms of the courts, the focus has always been on cocaine, heroin, ganja.
Yeah. I think I read somewhere, Michael Williams, very popular actor, died, and they determined that the cause of death was an overdose. And one of the things they were trying to pursue is that the persons who sold him would have been charged for his death.
Yes.
Do we have any provisions for that here in Jamaica if we identify that someone has died or something has happened, an adverse effect of it, that those charges may be laid against them?
No, not in the terms of the question that you have asked. No, you would have to prove specific intent. It would come under the law of murder or conspiracy or one of those species in terms of the criminal law. But there is no specific aspect of the law insofar as the Dangerous Drugs Act is concerned dealing with that matter.
I think they said ignorance is no excuse for breaking the law, but if they stop me with Molly and I say, well, me never know it's illegal, I want to know. It's just some tablet my friend give me and stuff like that.
Yes. Well, in that instance, I'm glad you asked that question. The Dangerous Drugs Act, the requirement in terms of a conviction would be two elements. The act of the thing itself, performing the physical act, that being possession, and the mental element, the intention to possess. So in this instance, the court or the prosecutor rather would have to establish that you knew that what you had was Molly or was dangerous drugs. It is not like a traffic offense, which is a strict liability offense, where knowledge is not important.
Oh, yeah. That's interesting. But that kind of sound, this is my view, that it kind of easy to get away with it if you get caught with it then.
Well, the majority of criminal offenses in terms of matters that come before the court require two elements. They call it actus reus and mens rea, meaning the intention, guilty knowledge. And there are a few exceptions in terms of strict liability, as I said, traffic offenses. So it is not, I wouldn't want to say that, but we have to be fair. And you can well imagine a situation, as you just said, where you may be innocent of it. Never, I don't need the type of person to be trafficking in that sort of thing. Totally qualified for a guilty plea, not guilty plea.
Him always take me and let him come with I feel if anything happens to me, I have to defend me for free.
but on a very serious note, I would caution young people, because it seems to be prevalent among young people. Do not do drugs. Don't do it. It's a gateway to hard drugs. It doesn't end well. And I would encourage all to be responsible and parents to be vigilant in terms of
But from what we're reading and saying, it sounds like it's a hard drug.
It appears so.
Yeah.
So it's not going to lead to a hard drug. This is a hard drug.
May very well be.
Yeah, and I think that's the challenge with Molly. It looks like just a tablet. But I'm reading here, Solomon Hegazi says it's a form of ecstasy, but a raw form of ecstasy actually can lead to some severe consequences on the heart and the brain.
Yes.
Anybody is vulnerable for that.
Absolutely.
Man.
Yes. So we need to tighten up our laws in terms of the legislation, specifically dealing with those types of drugs that are seem to be manufactured synthetic and not plant-based.
Yeah. How dynamic is that process, Peter? Because sometimes we're here, like the Sexual Harassment Act has been happening for years and then it's not happening. There's such a long debate about it. And I find that particularly when it comes to things like this, oxycodone, Molly, every 2-3 years there's something new. How dynamic are our laws to respond to changes in things like dangerous drugs?
I think you would make an excellent attorney. Again, you have hit an important point. I think in other jurisdictions, Delia, they have what is called a law reform commission that periodically examine existing legislation to see whether or not they are out of date and whether or not they are up to date with the current situation. And you can apply that across the board, not just with dangerous drugs. You can apply that in terms of the use of social media, in terms of persons cyberbullying and that kind of thing. You can apply that to a number of things. So I think really and truly we need to have a situation where we have revision from time to time.
Obviously you're not going to court this morning.
Absolutely not. And I wanted to have this kind of dress to appeal to the young people to say, I'm not too old to appreciate the fact that it is dangerous. And I have children as well, 5 children. And, with the best intention of the world, sometimes parenting is just a game of chance. You may have all the, the warnings and the caution, but when they go out, you never know.
Yep. And sometimes they spend so much time out.
Absolutely.
Than in. Yes. Good to see you, sir.
Thank you very much for
God
having me.
bless you and your family.
Thank you.
Attorney at law, Peter Champagnie.
Smile Jamaica returns after the break. Stay with us.